Do an Enneagram personality quiz. Enneagram is a personality profiling tool that was actually formed thousands of years ago in the Mayan culture. I didn't know this until I interviewed William Whitecloud, and he told me this, even though I'd already been doing Enneagram for 3-4 years before that interview. And that interview was probably 3 or 4 years ago. This has been around for a long, long time. I kind of get sick of new quiz types and stuff like this. Like, I feel like I've got a pretty solid amount of self-awareness in the way that I show up in the world and why I show up in the way that I do in the world by just attending a ridiculous amount of workshops and having a ridiculous amount of healers, coaches, trainers, teachers, facilitators reflect back who I am, and for me to see myself, observe myself in lots of different contexts. So it gets old. The Enneagram is something that I see as like a real powerful, something that I give credit and props to. Like, I really believe in this personality profiling tool as a super helpful resource. So you just have to type into Google Enneagram quiz, do it, and it'll tell you your primary and secondary aspects to the survival script. You can do it a lot more in depth. I get people to do it a lot more in depth when I work with them in workshops and whatnot. But just for the sake of this podcast that we're on, this being one of 3 types of fear we're exploring, if you want to kind of dive into this and understand how you've been influenced to feel scared in the world from your mother and father's parenting, this is a really key, simple way to access that. So essentially, Enneagram is like 9 types of personality patterns or strategies or safety strategies, ego personality types. And when you do the quiz, it'll tell you what your primary one is, and it'll tell you what your secondary one is. So you go, okay, cool. So the 9, just really quickly, there is the perfectionist is the first one. The second one is, and so I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to tell you how they feel, what their strategy is for safety in the world. And I'm like pretty solid at Enneagram, but there are people that devote their whole lives to Enneagram. There's books you can read on it and stuff, but I'll give you the summary. First one's the perfectionist. So if you do the quiz and it shows up with perfectionist, it means that you find safety in your physical appearance, looking perfect, sounding perfect, appearing perfect. Like, you got to try to analysis paralysis will feel common to you. The second one is the giver and the helper. And this is like essentially a pleaser. They feel safe making sure that people like them, and they're helping and they're overgiving, attending to everyone else's needs before their own. They feel safe in giving. The achiever is number 3. That's the third Enneagram. That is me. I feel safe if I'm being successful, if I'm being perceived like I'm doing a good job. I don't like receiving feedback in my ego personality type. This is not who someone is. It's a flavor of their personality. So it has a set of strengths. I've got a set of strengths by being someone that's driven, right? But they also come with a set of shadows when they're unhealthily being called upon, especially in times when they feel unsafe. So if someone's feeling unsafe and they're more scared in life, dysregulated, these ego personality types will kick in harder. So if I'm feeling really, really unsafe, I will receive feedback way worse, and I'll want to be doing a good job, and I'll be kind of harsh on myself, and et cetera, et cetera. So I feel safe in achievement, and I don't feel safe in non-achievement. Perfectionist will feel really unsafe in mess and not looking good, and kind of like a bit of OCD around looks, etc. Things being perfect. The giver will feel really unsafe if they're receiving a lot, right? So you can see the opposite will make each of these personality types feel unsafe. This is important to know, because this is how you're tailoring, like, whatever your ego personality type is. This is not, everyone is so different. There are millions of achievers in the world that all have a super complex set of upbringings, lots of different nuances to their personalities. But this just gives you a rough gist of how you find safety and what triggers fear for you in the world. And this is how you take this fear and just kind of can utilize this one of the 6 fears, the fear of parents, and get a really quick understanding of how it applies to you. The 4th one is called the artist. And the artist Enneagram feels safe being unique. If they are being perceived as non-unique, they feel unsafe. Okay, they want to be different. Enneagram number 5 is what is number 5? Oh man, the name of I've gone blank on it. That's because I'm definitely not this type. The number 5, what it is in layman's terms, because I remember the function, but just don't remember the name, is someone that feels safe in the detail, in the knowledge, in the mechanics, someone that's really head-based, really scientific, really intellectual, really up in their head. And if they're in emotion, they feel usually quite unsafe. Number 6 is the loyalist. The loyalist feels safe following the rules, being dependable, having groups around, etc. They feel unsafe being a rebel. Okay. Number 7 is the enthusiast. The enthusiast feels safe in variety and adventure and experiences and feels unsafe in the mundane. 8 is the challenger or the boss. They feel safe being in control, having all the details met, super organized. They're the ones that are calling the shots. Okay. And if they're not, and someone else is leading and it's really disorganized, they'll feel super unsafe. And number 9 is the peacekeeper or the mediator. And they feel really safe if there's no conflict, and really unsafe if there's conflict. So they're the 9, right? And that's just a really quick way that you can understand it. So if you just Google Enneagram quiz and just fill any of them in, the one that I prefer is eclectic energies, which I think is on page 2 of Google search. So you've got to go back a little bit. Eclectic energies, Enneagram quiz. But check it out. And that'll give you a quick little snapshot. Okay, based on my upbringing, I've become this person. And just one tip for filling out the quiz, you want to fill it out based on how because people can, like I'm an achiever and it was completely overriding me when I was massively addicted to working and addicted to success. And it came above other areas of my life that were important, and it was really unhealthy because I wasn't aware of it. With awareness, we can actually navigate the advantages, the strengths of who we are in our essence, in our personalities. But with awareness, we can kind of reroute our behavior when it becomes unhealthy. Anyway, we can change it. Like we can change a little bit over time, but our inherent Enneagrams will be based on our childhood. So if you think back to when you're a teenager or 18 years old, when you're 18 years old, what would you do? Like when you're being asked all the questions, go, when I was 18 years old, if I'm under stress, what do I do? And that'll give you a more accurate, deeper answer, as opposed to, okay, when it's all rosy and good and life's okay, what do I tend to do? Because that's not the helpful aspect of this. It's deep down. What are your safety strategies? What happens when you're dysregulated? Anyway, go fill out a quiz, get your response for that, and it'll give you another frame of reference of understanding how your upbringing has determined what you can and can't do in the world based on what your parents told you could and couldn't do in the world, right? That's fear of parents, and it has a massive impact on us, right?